Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Masonry Strong Podcast. Today I'm joined by Tom Vacala. Tom, how are you doing?
Good, good. Glad to
Awesome.
be here again.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is your second time on the podcast. This
Yes,
time you're
sir.
alone. So why don't you start by just letting me know how'd you get into the industry? What was your journey like?
Oh, that's a big question. So born into the industry, I like to say.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 11 kids in
You're
our
the
family.
youngest.
Yes,
Okay.
so we
Wow.
have there's 8 boys, 3 girls. My dad was a carpenter.
Hmm.
My uncle from Ireland was a mason,
Okay.
bricklayer. He got my 2 older brothers involved in masonry. And they started businesses on their own. And as a kid, I remember mixing mortar for them,
Yeah.
at the age of probably 8 years old. And just like couldn't wait to get out of high school
Yeah.
to go work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, literally, I didn't go to college,
Okay.
straight out of high school. And even during high school, on summer breaks, I would just work.
Yeah.
So I loved the industry and I loved making money.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I said, I'm kind of born into the industry, and I evolved from as a child, mixed mortar, learning things. I was a bricklayer, tuck pointer, labor, became a foreman,
Hmm.
became a superintendent, became an owner, partner, and back to being not back to, but now I'm the VP of operations
Wow.
for our company. So, and it's always been with my brother Larry.
Hmm.
I've worked with him since day one,
Yeah.
and wouldn't have it any other way. It's been a great journey
Yeah.
so far. Yeah,
Where did the work ethic come from, do you think? Was it from
my
your
dad,
your dad?
100% my dad. Yeah, my dad would. I remember as a kid, he would be up at 3:34 in the morning,
Mhm.
out the door, work all day. He'd come probably home at like 3:30. So I'd come home from school. He'd be
Mhm.
home from work already because he already got a full day in. And that's what he did. I look back at it and I really, I think all my siblings feel the same way as our
Mhm.
parents. They dedicated their life to us. There's 11 of us. So
Mhm.
we had one car in our family.
Oh my
My
God.
dad ended up having a work vehicle that he used, but it
Okay.
was filled with, you know, coffee
Yeah.
wrappers and
Yeah.
things, and but just tools,
Yeah.
So it's not like we drove in it.
Yeah.
It was work and back, and that was it.
What was the one car you guys had?
We
Do you
had a
remember?
couple different ones because
Oh, okay.
my oldest brother Pat is 17 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So here, look at it this way: when I was born, my dad went to work in the morning,
Hmm.
told my mother, "Give me a call, let me know what it is
Yeah.
when you get there."
Yeah.
So my brother Pat drove my mom to the hospital to have me. So that's
Let me
the
know what
age
it is.
difference. So when my brother Pat and Larry were in high school, we grew up in a 2-flat apartment
Okay.
building in Chicago, all of us together. So there wasn't enough room. My brother Pat and Larry, they had it in high school. They had to have their own apartment
Wow.
because there was no room in
Yeah.
our place
Yeah.
for them anymore. So they had to move out on their own. So they didn't have a choice to become entrepreneurs at
Yeah.
an early age. So it was interesting, but that, really taught us a lot of the work ethic. I just always remember my dad saying, your diploma out of high school is your diploma out of the house.
Yeah.
So you better plan well,
Yeah.
That was it was something that stuck with me. But then watching my brothers, the work ethic, and my sisters,
Mm.
that work ethic just carried on.
Yeah.
So I was able to watch it, see what they did, and learn from a lot of their mistakes
Yeah.
too. They made a lot of great mistakes that but the bad thing about that is that they messed up a lot. They did everything, all the tricks. So by the time me and my 2 other brothers that are closer to my age try to do something wrong, like we couldn't get anything over our parents.
Yeah.
Like they were on it. They're like, yeah, listen, you guys are towards the end. We got this figured
Yeah.
out. So we didn't get away with anything, but it was great and wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
Are a lot of your siblings still in the industry or?
No, so I have a brother and a sister that are PAs. I like to call them doctors
Okay.
because they pretty much that's what they're doing, and they live in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay. Nice.
Pretty much everybody else is in the industry,
Wow.
or they're retired out. My sister Colleen is retired, She's a smart one, so she's retired. I do have two siblings that have passed on, so they're in a better place than we are right now. But yeah, we really did. It was interesting because my dad was a carpenter, and we all got in the masonry
Really?
industry. Yeah.
Wow. It's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
When did you get involved in the MCAA?
So Larry got involved with it early on.
Okay.
And I remember us going for years to the World of Concrete.
Mhm.
We weren't really so much involved with the MCA at that point, I don't think. But I do remember at one point Larry saying that he went to one of the meetings, they pulled him in, and he's like, these are the best guys I ever met.
Yeah.
So Chicago's very, our market where we're from is very competitive.
Okay.
So we don't share a lot of our, the ways we do things, the way we estimate. It's not common. You don't. You kind of just keep to yourself. So that's what we were used to. When you come to the MCAA, it's a different world. Everybody shares, everybody's fellowshipping. It's a great resources.
Yeah.
But just good group of people they're grounded.
Yeah.
Put it to that way. I think what we found, if you look at everybody, you realize that they're grounded in their faith, they're humbled, and they have no problem sharing. They know that the companies, there's bigger things out there than the companies, and there's so much work out there.
Yeah.
So let's become friends and help each other out.
Awesome.
We'll grow larger together.
Yeah. Awesome.
As opposed to doing what we've been used to in Chicago.
Yeah.
So that was my exposure to it.
Okay.
And once Larry got involved, he just kept telling all of us, you guys got to meet these people. They're great people. Get involved. So we ended up all getting involved. But he led the pack.
Was it kind of weird to go from a little bit more competitive environment to one where everyone's like
It was
together?
difficult. And you can even, like, I know Jamil and a lot of people from Chicago will probably tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
That it was a little interesting when they came into this environment and seen that. But yeah, it was I don't know if I remember it being a tough transition or anything like that. Maybe it was more so for Larry because I was more so out in the field doing hands-on operations and he was running the business. So for him, that might have been a little bit hard of a transition. For me, it was just, I listened to him and met everybody and I was impressed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then when did you get into teaching the foreman courses? How did that start?
So within our own company, we've developed, me and a couple other people have developed some classes to teach our employees.
Okay.
We're a union company. The unions do a great job teaching employees how to do their trade. So they're very, we call them mechanics. They're very good at a lot of diverse things in their trades, bricklayers, laborers, tuck pointers. But when it came to becoming a foreman and developing a superintendent, project manager, all the management roles, there really wasn't much out there. And I remember myself getting involved as becoming a foreman. It was, literally I was running projects because when we did residential, some of the guys that worked with us, they might still, be a little wobbly in the morning when they came in. So I'll just put it to you that way. So we didn't want them driving the vehicles, the trucks. So there was times when we were doing residential that I was driving our truck with the equipment and the guys in it before I even had my driver's license. So I got put in a management role at an early age without really being taught leadership skills to know how to lead. I just knew our industry and I knew what we were doing. So I was and I was the only one, really, not the only one. We had great people, but at some point, I was dependable. I, was there early and I left late and it was my brother. So I couldn't, it's tougher that way.
Yeah.
Family businesses are tough.
Yeah.
You get treated a little bit differently than other people. You're expected to do more. So understanding that, and as I've evolved and gotten older, and we were teaching classes for our guys because I wanted them to learn, I think the biggest reason was that I wanted them to have a little bit of, maybe you want to call it ammo,
Okay.
in the weapon. So they have some tools to work with to go out and become a foreman or do that job properly, just like they would go through a school and learn how to become a bricklayer or laborer. I want to teach them how to become a foreman without putting them out there yet. And it was also good because we were teaching guys foreman information while they were bricklayers, top winners, and laborers.
Yeah.
Before they even became foremen, or we were thinking, we just had classes and they would come because now they respected our foremen a little bit more because they seen what they were doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They weren't just sitting in a truck or sitting in a trailer. There's a lot of stuff that they're doing, a lot of planning.
Yeah.
So it evolved into us doing it within our own company. And then I don't know how the conversation came up with Jeff at some point, but they wanted to revamp the foreman training with the MCA.
Oh, gotcha.
And the old school foreman training was great. I remember I asked Jeff, send me what you got. I've taken a class years
Yeah.
ago. Send me what you got. And it was a booklet like this, loaded with paper.
Yeah.
And it was literally a stack of, I don't know if they were CDs or DVDs, but it was a stack of them.
Wow.
And I started to go through it and I ended up throwing it aside and I told Jeff, listen, that's not who we are.
Yeah.
If we want to sit in a classroom, we probably would not be in this industry.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't go to college. I was in high school and I'd be looking out the window wanting to do what's going on outside.
Yeah.
I would lose focus in the classroom. I needed to work on my hands. So I wanted to implement some of the stuff that we've done internally with our company that was hands-on development, which was stories, realistic, real things that happen out in the field that we can train people from.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at a mid-year. I was starting to develop it, knew I couldn't do it alone. So we were at one of our mid-years, I think it was in Indiana. I can't think of the name right now. It'll come to me. But we had a round table and we reached out to everybody and says, anybody want to get involved with the committee for education to teach a foreman training class? And Donnie raised his hand and Jamil raised his hand.
Wow.
Neither one of us knew each other. So they both said that they would get involved. So they got involved and we ended up talking, got on a conference call. Their input, we just revamped it. We put together a really nice program, went out there, started teaching it, and then it evolved a little bit more. We fine-tuned it.
Yeah.
And we became solid friends, the three of us.
Oh, yeah.
And we realized what we were doing that was just naturally. We really didn't put a ton of thought into how we were doing it, but with the three different voices, three different types of the way we talk, Donnie being in Louisiana and me being in Chicago and, Jamil also being in Chicago, we just all spoke a little bit differently. So that got people engaged.
Yeah.
You're not sitting in a classroom with just a monotone voice.
Yeah.
You have a lot of ups and downs and it grabs you. And so we got people engaged. And like I said, we tweaked it a little bit. But I'm going to reverse it a whole lot farther back.
Yeah.
My biggest fear was public speaking.
I was just about to ask.
Growing up.
Yeah.
So that was a big hurdle for me. But I truly, with my faith, realized that if I have a fear, I need to just, head on.
Yeah.
Let's go get it. And that was my mentality. I joined early on, years ago. I joined it was a network marketing company. And I ended up, through my sister, joining this business. It was out of Houston. And we had to speak to doctors about nutraceuticals. So here's a bricklayer going on stage speaking to a room full of doctors about nutraceuticals.
Yeah.
So that was scary. That literally had me shaking in my boots. But they put me out there, and every time I would fail, I'd want to do better.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I did that for a while, and it really taught me a lot, and they mentored me a great deal. And then when that was done, I kind of wasn't doing public speaking or anything like that, but I would speak to our guys in the field, and it helped. It helped me grow, but I knew I needed something more. So I used to go to church in the morning. I still do, before work, and I would go into mass, and they would see me there early. Well, one person who was a lector, and he didn't show up. So I was there early, and the priest knew that they weren't coming. They see me there every time, and he says, "Hey, would you like to lecture?"
Yeah.
It's God's word coming through the priest telling me I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
So I said, yes, here we go. So I figured this is God's plan. I went up there and I lectured and I loved it.
Wow.
So I signed up and I was lecturing every morning at our 6:30 a.m. mass at our church. And that really helped me a lot to conquer that. I mean, you're always going to be afraid when you're speaking, public speaking, but I really learned that I can use that platform, not just for, the industry as a whole, and to help others, but also to, God's gave me that platform for a reason. So I need to use it for my faith as well.
Yeah.
So that's a big, full circle there.
Yeah.
And I'm always afraid to lose that. So I still want to do the speaking.
Yeah.
So there's times where I'm just shaking in my boots once again
Yeah.
in a meeting. And I know I have a good response to come back at, and I'll get all worked up, but I just said, I got to do it, raise my hand and just dive in. So that's what really got me into that part of it,
awesome.
My fears.
Yeah. I know you kind of touched on a little bit of like revamping the foreman courses and everything, especially
Yes.
with when adding Jamil and Donnie. How has the course kind of changed and just in the last couple of years? What have you, Donnie, and Jamil done to make it more, I guess, like you said, like not just sitting in a classroom and
Yeah.
just learning? Like,
Well, we're nice thing with the three of us is, first of all, when one is speaking, if we miss a point that's solid, the other two will jump in
okay.
and hit it.
Yeah.
So we're making sure we're capturing what we really want to, land. We want them to absorb the important things. And a lot of it is stories. We revamped by telling true stories. So those always change because
Yeah.
we're involved. We're out in the field. We're in the office. We're a part of a lot of different things, the three of us. So we got new stories all the time
Yeah.
to tell them. So we can relate. And we're not telling stories about 10, 20 years ago. It's relatable because it's what's happening today. We also revamped, we do little games, like you heard about Donnie throwing bricks.
Yeah.
So it's getting, because we understand if we're watching a room and you see people eyes start to shut,
Yeah.
then all right, everybody stand up. They
Yeah.
all stand up and we pull out a quarter. We're going to do heads or tails. We play a game and we got prizes.
Oh, nice.
And the MCA gives us tons of, really nice hats,
Yeah.
shirts,
Yeah.
and Jamil and Donnie are awesome. These guys come in and they give like $100 bills that they'll just, here, you won $100. And the guys are like, really? They thought we were joking. They're like checking it to make sure it's real and everything. But we do stuff like that,
Yeah.
so that gets them engaged.
Of course.
We do some really cool thing is when we got a lot of great feedback was we do breakout sessions. So we'll have topics during each category as we're doing it. And when we go through those 3 topics, we'll go to the breakout session. We'll get guys together that don't normally work together, different companies, different areas, whatever. And they're all leaders and they got to solve a problem together.
Yeah.
And the great thing is that we'll watch to see who stands out, who's leading like naturally, who's kind of sitting back, who's leading in a way that is not engaging with others, like who's doing it wrong, who's doing it right. So that's what we observe. And then for them, they get to learn a lot from other companies, what they're doing in that situation, because we'll give them problems.
Yes.
So it's really cool. We love doing that. So that's a lot of things that we continue to evolve and change depending on where we're at and who we're teaching it to.
Awesome. Well, as you wrap up, I'll finish off by asking you, what does Masonry Strong mean to you?
So I told you the other day, Masonry Strong,
Yeah.
when we talked about foreman class, it was really education. Someone said something today about Masonry Strong is relationships. And the relationships that we get a chance to have together through the MCAA is going to keep our industry strong. So I really like that. And it made me think a little bit differently that truly is, the education's great. I love doing it. And I think it's important that I go out and share, whether you want to call it wisdom or what I've learned throughout the years and the mistakes I've made, so they have a quicker route to get to where they need to be without making those mistakes. I feel like I need to share that. So I know that's going to make our industry stronger. But relationships those are the things that you take with you.
Yeah.
Those are the things that last. They're not things.
Yeah, of
They're
course.
relationships. So that's Masonry Strong for me. Our industry, getting together with other people in our industry and building solid relationships.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
keeps us strong.
yeah, that's awesome. All right. Thank you, Tom.
All
I
right.
appreciate you coming today. This was
Appreciate
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see you guys next time.